right. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our webinar. Today's webinar is called Training That Builds Businesses and Careers, and I am delighted to have our corporate waxer training with me, Tabby Manley.
Hi.
And Tabby is a big asset to Uni K Wax Studios, and we're a waxing franchise. It made so much sense to have a corporate waxer training talk about why we do it so well. So Tabby, tell us a little bit about your start in waxing and how you wound up at Uni K. What's the role of a corporate waxer trainer? But tell us, how'd you get started?
Well, thank you so much first for
Sure.
having me here. I started in Uni K about 12 years ago, which is 2008, as a waxer,
Mhm.
and specifically in Uni K,
Oh.
right? Yeah. So I knew like how to wax before, but not the way how the Uni K does. And I'm a institutional license at the time, and I used to like work in different company, doing different things. But when I was like looking that I want to do something with the wax only, and I found that Uni K was hiring, and I started from there.
You started
Yes.
at
Yeah.
that point.
Yeah, at that point.
Okay.
So after I worked like 7-8 years, and then there's an opportunity was opening, the company was growing, and they was like hiring, looking for to try to be a trainer.
Mhm.
And I felt that it's a good, opportunity to grow for the company. It was, and many companies like they don't have that. If you are like waxer and you're just gonna be like waxing and that's it. So when I found that, opportunity, I was like, let me
To specialize, to just do waxing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So what is your role as describe the waxer training and your role in Uni K.
And the waxer training and the role in Uni K is I train the waxers,
Okay.
right? Our way, the way how Uni K, we have a system.
So our system is different.
Our system is different than
than others.
Other people or the company, because we use the unique wax, which is plastic wax, very natural.
All right.
Yes.
And how long does the waxer training last?
Waxer training lasts for 10 days. Yes.
That's extensive.
Yeah. So when the waxers, when they finish the training, they are not new to the Uni K. They know already a lot about, our systems.
So it's a great start for them in Uni K.
Yes.
All right. And so at what point do waxers begin working with you? What point do they come to training?
So the waxer comes through the training once the franchisee, when they enroll them and they hire, once they are like really good work with the franchisee, and then they send us to the training department, which is we have one in Miami and one in New York. So for now, like I work for the corporate in New York.
All right.
So
first they have to get their state certificate that allows them. In New York, you can have a waxer certificate,
right, yeah.
And in other states they have different requirements. So first they have to have that. Then they are talking to a franchisee, a Uni K franchisee, who says, gosh, I like you. I want you to be a waxer with us. And they register that waxer for waxer training with you.
Right. And the good thing is, it's different with the different state, but in New York, like somebody, if they want to work in Uni K, they really don't have to go like, esthetician or cosmetology license. Again, they start with the waxer license. They have only wax license in New York State. I really don't know about it in Florida yet. But so, they really don't have to have a experience with the other things, you know,
Okay,
right?
so it can be, it's a very
right,
specialized
yes.
license.
So when they come in Uni K, even though like, you know, if, I mean, if somebody have experience, it's good, right? It helps, like no experience is bad, right? But at this point, like when they come to the Uni K, they have to go through our techniques, you know, so
Okay.
they have to certify with our techniques. So it doesn't
Wow.
really matter what
What they
have.
knew before,
Exactly.
they have a big learning
Right,
curve with
right,
us.
right.
Wow, so training is important with
Very
us.
important, yes.
So
Very.
why would a waxer want to wax at Uni K?
Why the waxer wax to the Uni K?
Yeah, why Uni K for a waxer?
Because we do only waxing.
That's
Okay.
it.
Yes.
We specialize.
Yes. We specialize with the wax.
Okay.
As I mentioned earlier, there's many places, you know, they provided different services, and I don't want to go somewhere like, you know, I don't want to do, right? For example, I am a cosmetologist, but I don't like to do the hair. So why I have to be like, you know, I have to be there because it's something I don't like to do. So if somebody really want to be, you know, there's a career in waxing, that's what, you know, people know. So they apply for the Uni K because we only do the waxing and we are the best
At it.
at that.
So what other reasons would they want to wax at Uni K? Besides just specializing, being the best at it, what else?
Our wax is unique.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Because of the product
Because
itself.
of the product, we use the natural gluten-free wax, 100% natural.
Okay.
We also have a lab, you know, like there's not so many people have a lab.
A wax
We
lab.
have wax lab. We have a trained wax lab assistants, you know.
So it's a whole focus on
focus.
just this activity.
Right, yes.
Now, is there any, after the 10 days are done and the waxer, you know, has gone through the training, do you say, well, good luck, let me know how it goes, ciao? Or is there, are you still in touch with them?
We are, definitely.
They're still supporting.
Yes, we still, of course we do.
Oh, okay.
Yes, we you know, we visit to the locations and, you know, if they have.
Oh, so you go and do checkups.
Yes, we do. We go to checkups, right? Like, we try, you know, the company is big, like, so sometimes like not that often, but at least like once in a month we go and, you know, like, we are very supportive in that point, you know, like they are not left it up. You know.
Good. Good. So they're not thrown to the wolves. If they say, gosh, I wonder how did I do this? They have someone to talk to.
Definitely.
All right. So another question that I have, we're always hearing comments from our customers about our wax. How important is the proprietary Uni K wax itself in a waxing service? Because I've seen, since I've been in this business, so there are strips that people use. There's other types of waxes. I hear a lot of comments about our wax. So tell me, what role does our wax play in all of this?
Well, so our wax is, as I told you, it's unique because wax has a elastic, right? It's very natural wax.
It's flexible.
Yeah, it's a very flexible. When we have a customer to come to our studio to get wax, like we have a times that, you know, for each services, because of our wax. Wax is very good. We can apply in multi area at the same times, right?
Okay.
We don't have to be like spend like hours and hours to do the like we have.
So it shortens the period.
Shortens the periods just because of, it's not like you apply the wax, you apply the strips, and like, you know, it's a wax itself is dry to the skin, and also the wax has elastic, so it's minimize the time. Okay. Beside the natural is 100% natural, gluten-free, right?
All right.
Yes. And also it's very gentle to the skin. It's good for the
Oh,
sensitive.
so if I have allergies, skin allergies, it won't irritate me?
Which is different, right? Like if you have an allergy or like a contraindication, which is like different, right? But for people like my skin is very sensitive, for example, right? Like you know, and that point, like our wax is very good. And also another thing that uh, for our wax, like no hair is short, right? Like people can come in every 2 weeks to get a wax if needed,
So
right?
if
Like
so,
yeah.
even if it's only a very short little
Doesn't
hair.
really matter. Yes, you just shave like there's a people like this. They shave in the morning, and if they have events in the evening, they have to shave. Right? There's
Wow,
right, like
that's
yeah. And in that point, like they don't have to do that. Like the 3 days they don't shave, they can come and get wax.
I see.
That's a very very beneficial about wax.
That's very cool.
Yes.
Now, I understand that, and I've seen in pictures and in other things that a lot of wax that's out there, once it's applied to a customer, it gets hard. It's like it's very hard, and so ours is just the opposite.
Yeah, that's why our wax is not a hard wax. Our wax is elastic wax.
Okay, I just want to make that drive that point home a little bit.
Right. Yeah. So we use the elastic wax, which is, and we have like a time like when to apply. That's all about the training. Is we think like what is the training? What we invest in the training. So that's the waxer once they are in 10 days, they know all about the temperature of the wax.
So, and about temperature, now I imagine I've had hot wax from a candle on my skin. It burns. Yes. Does our wax burn when you put it on?
No, our wax doesn't burn at all because we apply the body temperature.
Oh, it's at body temperature.
Yes, the body temperature.
Okay.
So, like, because if your body tolerates the temperature, that's not going to burn you.
Are there any other like benefits to?
Definitely, as I told you, no wax, no hair is short. So that's the first benefit because people have always like what I'm going to do in 2 weeks. Like if I have a hair in 2 weeks again, I cannot really come get a wax. I have to wait for a certain length. People have that. That is not true with our wax. Plus, the wax will not only remove the hair, it will also exfoliate the skins. Right?
What does that mean?
It will take the layer of dead skins.
Like the dead skin?
Right? Yeah. So it's like to get the wax is like 2-in-1. Like if some people don't want to go to like the body scrub, they can come to get wax and it does the.
And no extra cost for the exfoliation.
Yeah, definitely they have to exfoliate to maintain the skins and stuff.
Sure. Sure.
Everybody have different skins and right like a different way to treat their skins, but when they come to the Uni K Wax,
Okay. Well, so what would you say is the biggest benefit, or before that, how often is waxer training offered?
Waxer training offer, actually that is something depends, of the franchisee. Right?
Oh, so on the need for it.
The need for it, right? So most of the time, once in a month, or like let's say like sometime back to back in the month. Also, if there's somebody need it, right? And also when it depends when we work, it depends on all the new opening, right? So we always prepare to wax before the new opening. So
sure.
Yeah.
So when we're growing, like we've just opened a few places in New York. So there was a lot of demand.
Right. Yeah. So there is not like a specific day or time. Like whenever they need it.
All right. And what is the biggest benefit that a waxer training department offers a franchisee, would you say?
The biggest benefits for the franchisee is the first thing they need to know is we train the waxers. Okay. It's not, they don't have to worry like, oh, I'm gonna, open the franchise and I don't know where to get the, like the waxers, right? Like,
they will always have a source of training.
Right, yeah, we always have a source of training. Like we have a website that people can apply the job, right? So once they are like,
and only experienced waxers?
No, the waxer they don't need to have experience. If they have, it's plus point, but they don't have to be.
So they can
And-
be just got
Right,
certified.
they just graduate from the schools and they can apply for the Uni K Wax.
Okay.
Yes.
For that.
And they also don't, as I mentioned earlier, they don't also have to have a license like cosmetology or studios. It depends on the states, but especially if it's in the New York, they can just have a waxing license and then they can apply for the Uni K. So
Excellent.
right.
Well, and so that also makes sure that we have quality control. We have the best waxing experience at Uni K.
Yes.
Can a waxer buy our wax and go home and to go to someone's house and wax?
No, that
No?
we don't do. Yeah.
That won't work, huh?
No, that won't work.
So
yeah.
they can only, someone can only have our wax
Right.
at a Uni K
And
Wax
Uni K,
studio.
Right.
Okay, that's important.
Yes.
So I've noticed Uni K Wax studios look more like a spa than a hair or a nail salon. And it's not just women that get waxed with us. Can you tell me more about who else gets waxed at Uni K?
You're right, Luis, because we provide the service for men and women. There is a, only I really don't know like any other place than the Uni K that.
So we're unisex.
Yes, yeah, we're unisex. So we provide like exactly what we provide service for the women, we provide for the men. Like all the body parts, including neck to toe service for the men too.
So neck to toes, the whole
yes,
thing.
whole thing. Okay, and also we have a service for the teen, which is 17 and under, or like it's not as limit and.
So there's a teen program,
yes.
and do they have to have parental consent?
Yeah,
for
this
that?
is different. Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, they have a parental consent.
So for a guy like me,
Mhm.
can I get waxed at Uni K?
I'm sorry because we don't wax head.
You don't wax
Yeah, we
heads?
don't wax
Oh,
head. We
okay.
wax-
All
That's
right.
why we have a service called neck to toe.
Oh, okay. So from here
yeah,
down to my toes.
Yeah, for now,
Okay.
but we do the face, but not the head. And
Oh,
I don't
okay.
think that's a good idea to do that.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know. I've never waxed my head. I was just curious.
I was about to ask you, but
No, never done that.
Okay.
So what I've noticed is that the Uni K Wax Studio, looks like a spa. It's very attractive, but it's not really girly. It's not a really feminine place. Like a guy like me, and I've gotten waxed at Uni K. I've had service, down under my neck. But I would not go to a place that looked like a beauty salon. I would feel a little awkward going to one of those places.
Well, so that's the reason. Like we are like natural, not only with the wax, but with the looks also. So that like when you go somewhere, you don't want to be go in the room like with the pink, right? Something like I don't know what to say, but it's like that it looks very like natural. Also, the
Okay.
studios, you
Like our wax,
give them,
it's
like,
natural.
Yeah, the wax is natural. It's for everybody. It's for every color, for every every human being can like we have a hair in the body can go there and get wax.
Okay, well, a hairy guy like me is very comfortable with that. So one of the frequent comments that I hear is about how clean our studios are. What makes us stand out in that regard?
Well, the hygiene is our first priority.
The hygiene. Wow, yeah. That's
Definitely.
important.
Yes, definitely. We have a lab. I don't know, like
There's a waxing lab.
Waxing lab, any other than the key. In my waxing journey, in my experience, I don't know at all.
We're the only ones who do that.
The only ones.
And so what does that mean?
So that means we have a wax prepare individual cup for the customers.
Okay, so there's someone preparing
Yeah,
individual portions.
Individual portions. So to understand easily is like we don't double dip. We don't use the same wax to the other customers.
Well, that's
So
kind
we
of
have,
a
yeah,
big
yes,
deal,
yes.
isn't it?
Yes,
Especially
yes,
these
yes,
days
it
where
is, of
hygiene
course.
is
Yes, of
such a
course,
priority
of
for
course.
people.
We have also lab assistants, as
Uh-huh.
I already mentioned. So they are well trained and they know like what to do. Like they have, when we have a customer, like they are the CEC and then waxer and then the lab assistant are in the same pace, like like who have what customers, what is the service, so they have a preparation for the customers. So one wax guarantee for each
So you
customer.
guarantee that there's one wax for each customer.
Yes.
So in other words, let's say that someone comes in and there's a little wax left over after their service.
Right.
You don't put that back into a
Definitely
bin to
not.
mix
Yes,
and use
no,
with the next
definitely
one.
not.
That
That's gross.
that's gross.
Yeah, that's gross.
That
Yeah.
is,
Yes.
yeah,
So,
I
yeah,
could see.
So the lab assistant who works for the lab, he trained for that, like how to clean, how to make the pots, and so
And
their
keep
system
everything. And I notice in going into studios, they're all spotless. They're all very clean.
Yes, they are. Yes.
That's a big priority. That's nice. I wanted to ask you, lastly, what advice would you give to a waxer that is thinking about coming to Uni K? Or any advice you'd give a waxer?
I will give advice according to my experience because I used to be a waxers, right? I've been training.
So you've
for
done
many
this.
years. Yes. So I have a lot of experience with wax,
Oh,
with making wax, and
Sure.
I feel like sometimes people think like doing only waxing, like do you really have a career? And yes, you do.
That is a career.
Yeah, yes, there is.
So you can make a career
Definitely,
as a
you
waxer.
can. You can definitely.
Okay.
Yes.
So you would recommend that someone think about it as a
Yeah.
career,
Yeah.
not just.
Yeah, definitely. When I started, as I told you, I have that experience. When I started, I really didn't think that, you're asking questions that somebody who worked in a company for 12 years, if there is no, as a career as a waxer, then
You wouldn't be here.
I wouldn't be here, Before in the Uni K, I have I've been work like 5-7 different places, because I didn't find my,
Your place
there. So once I started in Uni K, even there was in between some time that I had to stay home because of the babies or something, but I came back, because,
Sure.
No other place than the Uni K. So
Well, we're glad you came back. Can people make good money at Uni K?
yes,
Waxers do?
definitely.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, you heard it.
Yes,
You can make good
for
money
sure.
at Uni K and make a career here. So
Yes.
we've got some people. We're going to open it up, and some people have some questions here. Do franchisees get trained on the technique too, or just the waxers?
Yes, the franchise get the training too.
Okay,
Yes.
so they get some training, but
Yes.
obviously
Yeah.
not all about waxing too, but they learn a little bit about what the waxing is like.
I mean, if they want to be for waxing too,
They can do that.
They can do that too. Depends,
Okay.
like and like they can do. Yeah, I'm assuming that.
Okay, all right.
I know some
So the answer is yes, the franchisees do get trained on techniques as well. Is this a semi-absentee opportunity? I'm not sure what that means. I will say that as a waxer, you can be an independent contractor. There are some places that you're an independent contractor, and there are some places that you're an employee as well.
Right.
So I think it's more of a matter of how many hours each the franchisee and the waxer need. So
that depends. Yeah, because I know about the waxer is we have a 10 days training.
Yeah, there's a 10-day training for the
waxers.
But as far as being a waxer, not everyone is full time. Some people do part time.
Yeah, but the training is
the training is a must. Yes.
Doesn't matter like they apply for the part time or full time.
You must take the
there.
training.
You must take the training and full trainings for 10 days.
Okay.
And there's no part-time training or something like that. So,
Well, good.
all right.
We hope that answered the question. They further elaborated, you don't need to worry about the front on the house. You can just focus on waxing. Yes. There's someone for each part of the business. So the waxer doesn't have to go and answer the door.
No.
And all of that. There's someone for each part of it.
We have a CC, like, we have a lab technicians, we have a waxer, we have a manager. We all have like our own departments. So I really don't have to worry like picking up the phones or like a booking appointment. I can be busy waxing on it.
Right.
Yes.
And someone can do 10 to 15 hours per week. And their multi-unit capabilities. Yes, we do have franchisees that have more than one franchise. So the waxers can go between their franchises. How many trained waxers are employed by a franchisee, and how does this affect the overhead? Well, that's a good question. There is typically one waxer per each waxing room. And it affects the overhead. It depends on if they're independent contractors or employees. So they have different effects. But if you want to get more down into a deep dive into numbers, we can do that as well.
How many rooms they have and how many people can have in that studio, right? So.
There's one question. Do any franchisees also perform waxing service? And the answer is yes. We do have some franchisees that also do that. But mind you, they have to be properly certified by whatever state they're in. So the state of New York and pretty much every state has specific requirements, licensing requirements for anyone who puts their hands on the public. So we do have franchisees that have been certified in that regard and who do waxing as well. And maybe you already answered this. No, a new franchisee gets training for all of their waxers. And there's a nominal fee if they bring on someone afterwards. And we can talk about that offline if you want. I'll give you my contact information. Let's see, I'm reading the questions. Don't need to worry about the front of the house. You can just focus on CEO. Oh, as a franchisee, we do have some absentee franchisees that may have a manager in place or that aren't in place all the time. We do have a very good system, but of course, no one can make sure that things are getting done like the franchisee, the owner. But we do have several franchises where there are managers operating and making sure that certain things get done. Let me see. Maybe I already answered that. Yeah, I already answered that one. How do you make sure the waxers continue following training when they go off to work at a franchise location? Is there on-site follow-up or secret shoppers? That's a good question.
We do both actually. So definitely once they finish the training, right after 10 days, they are new. They are not new anymore. They get a lot of information from the training, and also we are with them all the times. We visit locations.
So what does that mean though? You visit periodically the location?
Visit, just like once a month or like depends, more often.
Okay. So yes, there is on-site follow-up, and you do secret shoppers? We do secret shoppers as well. Yeah. So watch out. If there are any franchisees watching, you might get shocked. we answered that one. How do you make sure? Well, we answered that one. I don't know about hiring waxers. Do you help franchisees hire waxers? Well, I can tell you we did another webinar with Frank Ponce, who is our director of field operations, and he also helps train the franchisees on what they need to be doing to bring in on recruiting waxers on some of those things. So yes, the answer is we do train franchisees on attracting, on recruiting, and on retaining their waxers. Let me see other questions. I want to make sure we get them all answered. How many training waxers are employed by a franchise? Oh, we talked about that. I think we answered all of them. Are there any questions we have not answered? This is a good time to ask. Okay, well, my name is Luis Rodriguez. Oh, there is one question. Is our training different than other concepts, than other waxing franchise concepts? I'll say yes.
It's different.
Yes.
Definitely. We are different. Our wax is different. The way how we train is different. They have to go through with our techniques.
Because I understand it's not only a different way to deal with a different product, but our founder divided the body down into over 160 different services. So it really goes down to the minimal area. Let's see. The other question, what is the ramp up time? Well, it depends. If we're talking about as a waxer, you know, the training is 2 weeks after, of course, they have to have their state certificate, but the waxer training lasts about 2 weeks. And then the practice for someone to be proficient and comfortable as a waxer, how long would you say that is?
Actually, they are ready by 2 weeks.
By the end of that?
Yeah, by the end of the training, the waxer depends also, like, you know, there are still some are like ready already, like in, you know, 7 days, but by 10 days they are like ready, good to go.
Okay.
Yes.
And and as far as ramp up time on a franchise, after you signed your franchise agreement, we like to see that the build out, that the furnishing, equipping, supplying, getting that franchise ready to open its doors to the public. We like to see that. You have to remember there's an architectural phase, there's a permitting phase, there's building phase, there's a lot that goes into doing a top flight franchise. So we like to see that in about 20 weeks. And yes, there are several territories that we're excited to develop. Right now, we are in Florida, and we still have territories available in important markets in Florida. We're pretty strong in South Florida right now, in the Miami, Fort Lauderdale area. But there are other areas in Florida that we are excited about growing into. We are in New Jersey, and there are parts in New Jersey that we'd still like to develop. And we are in New York, and we're very strong in New York, particularly in Manhattan right now. Once people get waxed with Uni K, they seldom go back. They become very loyal. But we do have areas outside of those places that I've mentioned that are just prime targets that we feel could do very well with the right leadership. And we are looking for the right leaders to take it to that level. So you can call me and talk to me if you have on the invitation is my contact information. If not, my cell phone is area code 305-904-2122. My name is Luis Rodriguez. My email is lrodriguez, LRODRIGUEZ, at ukwfranchising.com. Do we have any more questions? All right. Well, we're glad that you joined us on a beautiful South Florida day. And we look forward to seeing you at our next webinar. Write to me, call me. We'll begin to understand each other and why this is the best opportunity in the waxing franchise world. Thank you again,
Thank you.
Tabby. You were awesome.
Thank you.
And we look forward to seeing you at our next webinar. Take care, everyone. Have a great week.